The Clithar Dominion had ruled over 9 sectors of the spiral arm for almost 2,000 cycles. To them, every world was just another coordinate in their archive, another system bound by tribute and fear. Their fleets patrolled the borders with unmatched precision. Their network stretched across light years, woven through satellites and subspace nodes that pulsed like a living web. Nothing escaped their surveillance grid, until one day something did. A lone sensor station near the edge of Sector 14 picked up an anomaly. The readings were strange, massive energy fluctuations moving in perfect formation. The young scout officer assigned to the outpost leaned forward, his luminous eyes narrowing as lines of data flickered before him. He tapped the console, trying to stabilize the feed. "Command, this is Outpost Delta 7, he reported, his voice carrying a faint tremor. "We have an unidentified formation approaching the rim. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures? Unusually dense." A pause followed. Then the calm tone of his superior replied, "Unusually dense. Define." "Power output equivalent to a full Dominion carrier group," the scout answered. "But the size ratio doesn't match. They're smaller, faster, and their signal modulation pattern is—" He stopped mid-sentence. The readings changed again, stabilizing into a sharp rhythmic pulse. It was not random. It was communication. Could it be pirates? "No," the scout said quietly. "Pirates don't broadcast this kind of precision. Whoever they are, they know what they're doing." Command ordered him to continue observation, but within an hour the anomaly became a wave. The formation expanded, revealing dozens of ships arranged in a geometric spread, their engines glowing with faint blue light. The Dominion database had no record of this configuration. The fleet was human. The humans had arrived. Across the galaxy, most species had only heard of them in fragments, a primitive world once isolated in its own solar cradle. Centuries ago, humans were dismissed as insignificant, limited by gravity and ignorance. Yet in the last few decades, something had changed. They had gone silent, then suddenly reappeared beyond old coordinates equipped with technology no one could trace. Some called them explorers, others invaders. The Dominion had never taken them seriously, until now. The human fleet drifted quietly at the border of Clithar space. Their ships did not open communication. They did not send a greeting beacon or a surrender code. They simply waited, motionless in perfect synchronization. Inside the Dominion flagship Varan, High Commander Terrell observed the tactical screen with unease. The humans' ships emitted minimal heat, minimal energy waste, yet their reactors burned brighter than anything in Dominion archives. The readings made no sense, almost like their systems were bending known physics. "Send a warning broadcast," Terrell ordered. "They are trespassing on Dominion territory." A junior officer complied, transmitting the message through subspace in all standard diplomatic frequencies. Moments later, a response arrived, not as words, but as a pulse of light. "Binary. Commander," the technician said, scanning the signal. "It's a code. Old Terran binary, primitive but structured. What does it say?" The officer translated, his voice slow and hesitant. "It says, 'We are not here to conquer. We are here to warn.'" Terrell frowned. Warnings were not part of Dominion protocol. No one warned them. The Dominion was the warning. "Continue analysis. Prepare defense grid," he said firmly. But before the command could be carried out, every display aboard the flagship flickered. Systems began to slow. Power levels dipped. The entire ship's network went silent for 3 seconds, then rebooted. "What happened?" "Unknown interference," replied the chief engineer. "The signal must have—" Before he could finish, the lights dimmed again. Across the Dominion fleet, similar failures were reported. Systems jammed. Navigation froze. A strange data stream began infecting their main cores. The scout outposts started to go dark one by one. It was not a weapon strike. It was information. The humans had released a silent storm, a sequence of code that rippled through subspace, targeting Dominion communication protocols. Their entire surveillance web began collapsing. Satellites spun out of control, their data loops locked in recursive cycles. In less than 20 minutes, the most advanced network in the sector had turned into a graveyard of signals. On board Varan, Terrell stood speechless as he watched his empire go blind. "How are they doing this?" he asked in disbelief. No one answered. The data continued streaming across the monitors, each line more incomprehensible than the last. Then the same binary pulse appeared again, calm and deliberate. "System collapse is not destruction," it read. "It is correction." The humans were not attacking. They were resetting something. The Dominion scientists soon realized that the humans had discovered a flaw buried deep within the subspace lattice, a flaw that the Dominion had unknowingly exploited for centuries to maintain control. The humans had simply reversed it. They had released a corrective code that restored the natural flow of communication energy through the fabric of space. To the humans, it was balance. To the Dominion, it was catastrophe. Entire defense grids shut down. Artificial weather systems failed. Automated drones lost command synchronization. Worlds that had lived in Dominion shadow for generations suddenly found themselves free. Disconnected, but free. Terrell tried to re-establish contact with Central Control, but the line only returned static. On the human flagship Odyssey, Captain Jameson observed the readings quietly. The man's eyes were steady, reflecting both relief and sorrow. "They'll see this as an attack," said his lieutenant. "I know," Jameson replied, "but we gave them a choice. We warned them. They built their empire on suppression. We just turned off the switch." The humans had spent years studying the Dominion's network. It was not out of malice, it was out of necessity. When the Dominion first discovered the Earth years ago, they had marked it as a resource world. They underestimated humanity's capacity to learn, to adapt, to understand systems beyond their creation. So humanity disappeared from official charts, hiding behind digital shadows, studying the Dominion from afar. They learned to read alien code, understand quantum signaling, and rebuild their technology not by domination, but by empathy with the universe's structure. They understood that power without balance led to collapse. Now they had returned, not as conquerors, but as engineers of cosmic correction. Meanwhile, panic spread through Dominion worlds. News networks went dark. Artificial moons failed to maintain orbit. Power plants shut down in sequence. For the first time in centuries, billions of citizens looked up at their skies and saw stars without distortion. The clean, unfiltered universe beyond the Dominion's controlled glow. In the capital world of Velira, the council gathered in the emergency chamber. The walls flickered between backup power cycles. One counselor stood, trembling. "We must retaliate. Send what remains of our fleet." "With what?" Another snapped. "Our command systems are down. Our ships can't even align their coordinates. We are the Dominion." "We cannot." "Enough," interrupted the eldest among them. His eyes were weary, his tone calm. "Perhaps this is what we deserve." Silence filled the chamber. For so long, the Dominion had believed itself invincible. They measured power by control, not by understanding. But the humans, the species once considered backward, had seen what the Dominion could not. They had seen that the universe itself resists control. Back aboard the human ship, Captain Jameson gave the order to retreat. The fleet shifted formation, engines igniting with a soft hum. One by one, they vanished into subspace, leaving behind silence and stars. The Dominion systems remained crippled for weeks. Recovery was slow, but the collapse forced change. Worlds that were once enslaved began rebuilding independently. Some tried to restore the old ways, but the network would never function as before. The humans had made sure of that. They hadn't destroyed it. They had rewritten it, embedding a new law in its foundation. Any attempt to recreate centralized control would trigger an automatic shutdown. No weapon could undo it. No command could bypass it. It was final. The humans had given the galaxy something it never had before: freedom through code. Months later, when communication finally stabilized, fragments of human transmissions were found embedded in old Dominion archives. They were brief, almost poetic. "Knowledge is not power," one message read, "until shared. Control is not strength," said another. "It is fear wearing armor." And one final line, found hidden deep within the Dominion's oldest data vault, simply said, "Remember balance." The Clythar scientists spent years trying to trace how humans had executed the operation. They found no weapons, no ships near their core systems. The humans had simply understood. They had mapped the Dominion's network in silence, then used its own rules to undo its tyranny. In the following decades, trade routes reopened. Independent alliances formed between liberated worlds. The Dominion, now fractured but alive, learned humility. The humans vanished again, leaving only stories, signals, and a changed galaxy. Across countless worlds, the event became known as the Quiet Dawn. Some saw it as a warning, others as salvation. Centuries later, a young historian stood under the clear sky of Valira, reading old archives. She paused at one particular record, the original sensor log from Outpost Delta 7 where it all began. The log ended with a single untranslatable note, likely added by the scout who had first seen the